How's it going, everyone? 138 MMA here, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 71 fight card. We're going to cover every single matchup on the card. Starting with the prelims, we're going to work our way up and go all the way to the main event of the evening. And real quick, hey, if this is your first time here, I'm really glad you found the channel. Thanks for taking the time to check this video out, and I hope to see you in the comments down below. If this is a returning view for you, if you've come back to the channel after watching some other videos in the past, hey, welcome back. I appreciate you taking the time to come back. For anybody that doesn't know, you can find me on Twitter, 138MMA, same thing on Tapology. And also, if you want access to all of my notes, access to Patreon Parlay, access to picks with confidence ratings, and various other neato things, you can find that over on patreon.com/138MMA at the tier that fits with what you're looking for. We have 4 different tiers for whatever you could need. So if that's what you're interested in, head on over there. The link's in the description as well. But without wasting any more time, let's go ahead and get into the fights because they are going to be a blast on this card. I am stoked. There are some really good ones, but right after this, we'll get into those fights.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, 138 MMA proudly brings to you the hottest picks in the world!
Card with a brand new marker, might I add, as you can tell by the heavy black color we got. So that's nice. Kicking off the card, we have Brady Hiestand taking on Danaa Batgerel. I think I said that correctly. Correct me in the comments if I didn't. Anyway, both guys 3-2 in their last 5 fights. And we have a stat that's interesting here is because there's a 10-year age gap, but it's not quite the same as all the other 10-year age gap where you can pretty much just pick the younger guy, because 33 years old should be about his prime, or, you know, maybe not prime at 135, but pretty close to. And 23 years old is just a young fighter. So we do have the 10-year age gap. I pointed it out for that reason, but I don't think it's really going to play into it. But y'all are always asking me about the age, so there we go. Anyway, so this matchup here, Danaa Batgerel, for him, he is a very good striker with a ton of volume, power, and incredibly fast hands. That is his best path to victory in this matchup because the striking for the Hiestand side is about average, and his striking defense is not good. If you get a few shots to the face, Hiestand's going to be looking rough. He's not going to be doing too well, but he's a dog, so he might be able to power through it. He's a dog, and he's got some serious cardio, so that's going to help Hiestand get through this, but he can only eat so many shots from a guy like Batgerel. I don't see it going very well, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel for Hiestand. He has good wrestling, and his takedown volume and relentlessness to pursue those takedowns is what's going to have to get him to the win if he is to follow the proper game plan. The takedown needs to be priority number 1. If it is, I do believe he can keep Batgerel worried about the takedown enough that he's going to be able to just kind of control the fight, whether he's pushing him against the cage, getting the takedown, constantly, you know, making Batgerel have to defend the takedown, and never really able to load up on those shots and land anything heavy, throw a couple of shots for Hiestand and then go for the takedown again. I think he's going to be able to get him because the takedown defense isn't the best, but he does work back to his feet. And I'm not really a DraftKings guy. Like, I'm not a big DraftKings dude. I created an account like a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. It was whatever the last pay-per-view was. Anyway, I did that. Not super good on the DraftKings, but I know that they favor grappling and takedowns. I can see Hiestand just getting like 10 takedowns in this fight if he can survive. So might be a good play as an underdog there. I'm sure he's cheap on the DraftKings thing. So there's my DraftKings take for 138 MMA. You don't usually get that here. I'm not usually a DraftKings guy, but either way, I do like Hiestand in the matchup. I think he's going to be able to get the takedowns. I'm not mega confident in it. In fact, I probably won't even bet it, and I'm going to hate that when he wins and he was an underdog and then I didn't end up betting him. But I'm not confident in him. He's a younger guy, and not younger in the way that it's, you know, young versus old, younger in the way that he's very inexperienced. He has not fought a very high level of competition, but I do think the dude is tough as nails. And I think he's going to be able to just relentlessly pursue that takedown enough to just eke out a victory. I don't think he's going to look very good at the end of the fight, but I think he's going to be able to get enough takedowns, land enough ground and pound. And yes, I know damage is number 1, but if Batgerel lands 2 punches, busts up Hiestand, and then Hiestand gets 4.5 minutes of control time with a bunch of shots, the judges are probably still going to favor that control time and a bunch of like light ground and pound, even if his face looks a little rough. That's the way I see it. I could be wrong. Judges are terrible anyway, so who friggin' knows what they're looking at. But he stands the pick. I spent too much time on this one. I'll see you in the next
Women's
flyweight here. We have Karine Silva taking on Priscilla Cachoeira. And for Cachoeira, she's looked pretty good as of late. She's 4-1 in her last 5. I still don't know that she won that fight against Yeon Kim, but either way, she's 4-1 in her last 5. 5-0 on the Silva side. Silva has a few losses earlier in her career that I'm not a big fan of, that didn't look so good, but she's since turned things around, looked much better. I believe she's improved and fixed the things that she had wrong back then. So in this one here, it's going to be very interesting because on the feet, we've got Zombie Girl coming forward. Obviously, forward pressure, aggression, but she's got this power that she has. She has good striking, but the power makes up for a lot of it because the striking defense is pretty bad, and she's willing to eat 2 or 3 just to give 1. But when she hits you, you know. When she hits you, you know. She can flatten somebody, and, I mean, she could flatten Silva in this matchup, but she's also pretty durable in her own right, so she can eat those few shots and then keep coming forward and sling bombs at you. And she's going to be able to do that the whole fight, no matter if it's 3 rounds or ends in the first. She's able to do that. So for Cachoeira, simple game plan. She's got to walk Silva down and throw bombs. Now for Silva, she's got a few different options here because she does have some solid Muay Thai with some tight defense. She keeps her hands up here, and she's going to then strike in a burst, working her combo, and then get back to her defense here. But what she's best at is when she can drag her opponent to the mat. She's going to use this grappling, which is excellent, by the way. She's going to aggressively look for submissions and land some nasty ground and pound. So for me, this might be a fight where I'm actually going to take the under 2.5. I do like the under 2.5 in this one. I assume it's going to be plus money. If it's not plus money, forget that. I'm not going to bother with it. But I believe you can get plus money on the under 2.5. I haven't seen what the line is, but you should be able to. It's a women's flyweight under 2.5. Come on. Anyway, for me, for the pick, I'm going to take Karine Silva. Why do I think that? Well, I think she has more paths to victory, and I think if she can get this fight to the mat, which she should be able to, because Cachoeira's takedown defense is just like, it's all right. It's not good. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's all right. But Silva should be able to drag her to the mat, get on top, and start landing some serious ground and pound until Cachoeira eventually gives up position, gets submitted, or just goes out via strikes or starts gouging eyes, whatever she's got to do. But either way, Silva's the pick. Let me know what you have, and I'll see you guys in the next prospects fight. In the featherweight division, we have William Gomis taking on Francis Marshal. Both guys 5-0 in their last 5. Marshal is undefeated currently, but there's a bit of a height discrepancy, only an inch in reach, 72 to 73 in the reach, but a 6-foot tall Gomis taking on a 5'9" for Marshal. Gomis can be able to use that in the striking department to land some shots because, well, Marshal doesn't have the best striking defense, and Gomis is going to be much taller. He's going to be punching from down, makes it harder for the shorter guy to get up there, but he is more of a counter striker, so he's going to need Marshal to come forward, and that's okay because Marshal is going to come forward. In fact, probably a little bit more than Gomis wants, but that's going to negate this here because a lot of times he could be low volume if he's not having somebody come forward at him because he wants to counter. But he has an excellent body kick, and I think that could be a serious path to victory for him on the feet. However, Marshal on the other side, Marshal's got decent striking, but I would say that the lack of polish that he may have, he makes up for it with just volume and power because he does hit very hard with a serious amount of volume, and it makes up for any lack of polish that may be there. But when it comes to the grappling, both guys are good wrestlers. Good scrambles, good ground and pound on the Gomis side. But the thing that I like best here is that beautiful double leg that Marshal has, and he can duck under a shot, under a punch that is, and hit that shot, take the guy down, and then do work from there. And he's also durable as all heck, so if he has to eat a couple to do it, I think he can do it. This matchup has me torn because realistically, this is a tough one to predict. A lot of people are picking Marshal. And I've gone back and forth. Marshal, Gomis, blah, 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 back and forth. About an hour ago, I was on the Gomis side, and then about maybe 10, 7, 6 minutes ago, switched it up. I'm going to take Marshal, and I'm not confident in it at all, so this is going to be a fight where I'm going to kick my feet up on the table. I'm going to crack open a cold root beer, and I'm just going to enjoy the show, because this fight, couple of prospects will know who's really the real deal after this one and who's going to be kind of floating in that middle ground for a little while. Not ashamed to lose in this matchup. Both guys very talented fighters, but I'm going to lean Marshal in this one, but just for a pick, I'm not confident in it whatsoever. I do think it goes to decision most likely. I think both guys are tough enough to handle it, but that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. If you've bet Marshal, because I know a lot of people have, That's why his line keeps growing. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion and hear your take, why you're so confident in Marshal, because maybe I missed something. But anyway, let's go to the next fight. Fight of the Kid Brothers here. We have Junior Tafa taking on Mohammad Usman. In this one here, Tafa is only 4-0 in MMA because he spent a lot of his time in the kickboxing realm. And for Usman, he is actually only 8-2 because he spent a lot of time playing football. So 4-1 in the last 5, though. His last 5 fights, he has as many wins as Tafa has in his entire MMA career. Interesting little stat there. This one is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. One, because the odds have been weird. They've been shooting all over the dang place. And everybody seems to be on Tafa, which he grew to a pretty big favorite and then just shot back down. But everybody still seems to be on Tafa. I don't quite understand that. It's very strange how that works. But somebody must have put a lot of money on Usman. Now, why did they put a lot of money on Usman? Let me tell you why. Well, because Usman, yeah, decent striking, not very good. He's super low volume, but like, yeah, it's just the fact that he has a stupid amount of power. And I put solid power. It's a stupid amount of power. Because if he connects with a shot, you're probably going to go to sleep. Why is that? Well, because he's just a freak athlete. He is a freak athlete. It's the truth. But he also has wrestling in his back pocket. Now, he's not a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong. He's not like his brother Kamaru. But decent wrestling, decent takedowns. That's about all he's going to need in order to get Tafa down. Because Tafa's takedown defense is like, we saw it on the regional scene, which obviously wasn't that many fights ago. He's only got 4 of them. Where he was taken down by some kind of, lower level competition and able to be, held down, worked over a little bit. Obviously, he won, gets back to his feet. They'll, land some big shots and knock the guy out because he's a durable, tough dude, and he hits like a truck, and he puts together some nice boxing combinations. But realistically, there's a world where Usman just pushes him up against the cage and holds him there, and then maybe gets a takedown here and there, and just does enough to grind out a super boring decision and wins. So I'm not going to bet this fight. I'm not at all. And I know I almost picked Usman, but I'm going to pick Tafa for the simple fact that I want to pick Tafa because he's fun. And, he's the cool kickboxing guy. He's coming over here, and he's going to try to knock out the Ultimate Fighter winner. But, guys, I don't feel good about this at all. My initial lean was picking Usman because I picked him in the tough finale when everybody else was on, Pauga. And I said, Usman's probably going to knock him out at some point. Well, he did. But this fight's a little bit different because I don't know that he can knock out Tafa because Tafa's durable. And he has to win a boring 3-round decision to beat Tafa, I do believe. And I'm not convinced that Tafa doesn't catch him because he has lost before, obviously. So I'm going to take Tafa, but I have no confidence in this. So if you come back to this video and say, oh, yeah, I followed your advice and bet on Tafa and he lost, I'm telling you right now, please don't bet on Tafa. And hey, if you do and he wins, great, good on you, but you didn't hear that from me. I pass on this one entirely. We don't know anything about how Tafa's going to look against anybody in the UFC. So that's where I'm at. Sorry I spent so much time breaking this one down. I realized that was a lot, but I just had to get that off my chest that I originally was thinking Usman. But either way, I'll see you guys in the next fight. Let me know what you guys have. And, put it in the comments. Here, we have Norma Dumont taking on Karol Rosa. Both are 4-1 in their last 5 fights. In this one here, Rosa, she kind of usually fights at the 135, the bantamweight division, but moving up to 145 to take on Norma Dumont. Decent striking. The volume is there. That's what she's best at, is that striking volume. But striking defense can be lackluster. Her decent grappling as well, so nothing bad there. But she's going up against Dumont, who's pretty much just decent everywhere. But she's very sound defensively. Good, solid defensive for striking, and then good takedown defense. She's able to kind of just be defensively sound and then land her own stuff. The problem is her volume is inconsistent. In some fights, she has a lot of volume, and other times she just doesn't do much at all. She's more just willing to play defense. So this gives me a little pause. But other than that, I feel pretty good about Norma Dumont here, and I have no idea why she's an underdog. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think she's going to be able to push Karol Rosa around. I think she's obviously going to be the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter. I think she's just a little bit better striking, and she has a little bit better better grappling if she gets on top anyway. And I don't think Karol Rosa is going to be able to get it to the ground. So I'm going to take Norma Dumont to either get the takedowns and win that way, or just kind of box her up on the feet and just land the better shot. So I'm taking Norma Dumont. I think it's pretty clear. I don't know why she's an underdog. I'm not like a 10 out of 10 confidence, don't get me wrong. But for an underdog, I feel pretty good about it. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next fight. We have Rani Yahya taking on Montel Jackson. Interesting matchup here. Jackson 4-1 in the last 5, 3-1 and a draw for Rani Yahya. And I'm going to be straight up with you here. In Yahya's last 3 fights, I've bet him. And this guy He's getting up there, but everybody keeps overlooking him. Dude's 2 and a draw in his last 3 fights. I bet all 3 of them. 1 was a push. Obviously, I won 2. And Yahya's always the underdog. So I'm loving Rani Yahya, but this matchup's a little bit different. So let's break this one down. This is a little bit tougher matchup for Rani Yahya than his last couple. He's obviously the much older fighter, 38 as opposed to 30. He's also the shorter fighter with a shorter wingspan by quite a bit. 5'6", 68-inch reach, which is a long wingspan for a 5'6" fighter, but against a 5'10", 75.5-inch reach, which is very long. In this matchup here, we have Montel Jackson, who hits like a darn truck, but he's patient. He's going to pick his spot, try to throw that, but sometimes he's a little bit too patient and can kind of wait just a little bit too long. But he's also got solid wrestling, and that's a problem for Rani Yahya because Jackson has the wrestling pedigree to be able to stuff takedowns or even reverse the takedown, get on top, and then hopefully get back to his feet if he's not an idiot, because Yahya's dangerous as hell off his back, but uses wrestling to stop those takedowns, because Yahya's takedowns, they're not very good, but how he gets people down is just the sheer volume of takedowns, because he's coming out there in the first round trying to just get takedown, fling a couple of wild hooks, and go for another takedown, and if he gets it, great. He starts working that amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that he has, because this dude's a constant submission threat. I think out of his 28 wins, he has like 20 or 21 submissions. That's insane. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Rani Yahya is a constant submission threat. Can't strike his way out of a paper bag, but he's phenomenal on the Jiu-Jitsu, but his cardio is going to fade because all he's going to do is just shoot for those takedowns. And I tell you what, this matchup is a very tough matchup for Rani Yahya, but I can't bet against my guy. Everybody's going to think I'm an idiot. You can tell me I'm an idiot in the comments, but Rani Yahya gets this one done by submission. Don't bet it. Please don't bet it. I'm not going to bet it. I'm going to kick back, crack open a cold root beer, and then be disappointed when Rani Yahya gets knocked out. But I'm picking Rani Yahya by submission for the official pick, because you know what? My picking predictions be damned. We're going to get a bad one here, but I'm picking Rani Yahya on the off chance. So I'll see you guys in the next fight. Don't tail this bet. It's not a bet. It's not a bet. I'm not betting it. See you guys. We have Christos Giagos taking on Ricky Glenn. Glenn is 2-2 in a draw in his last 5. That draw was the Grant Dawson fight, where he darn near finished Grant Dawson at the end of the fight, the third round. Easy 10-8, almost a 10-7 if you ask me, but it was a draw because the 10-8 lost the first 2 rounds. Now, 2-3 for Giagos, for whatever it's worth. He's kind of on a bit of a skid. The last 2 fights were losses. Haven't looked that good. But he is a fast starter. The dude's going to come out of the gate, give you what he's got early, but he'll slow down as the fight's going to go on, which is kind of the opposite of Glenn. He's just going to keep on coming. But for Giagos, he's definitely a good grappler. That's where he wants to be. The volume of takedowns is kind of where it's at. He wants to get this fight to the mat, use his grappling. His striking is like, yeah, it's all right. It's okay. Because he does throw with some serious power, but he doesn't have the best striking defense. And that's a problem for him because he's been chin-checked a couple of times. And when you got Ricky Glenn over here, the dude's going to be pushing forward. He's going to use that striking. He has decent pop on the shots. When he hits you, you're going to feel it. But he's got good volume as well. And if you're not going to be able to block a lot of those shots or get out of the way, that could be a problem. If it goes to the mat, I think he's got good enough grappling to either A, survive, because that's what he did against Grant Dawson. And, Dawson's a much better grappler than Giagos. So, for me, I think that this fight comes down to whether or not the layoff for Ricky Glenn, I believe he had a handful of injuries, whether or not the layoff is a problem for him. I would be way confident in Ricky Glenn had this layoff not been there, or had this layoff been something like, oh yeah, I just couldn't find a fight because a few fights fell out because the opponent pulled out or whatever. If it wasn't something where he's like coming off some injuries or whatever, we don't quite know how he's going to look. So that makes me a little less confident, but the pick is still Ricky Glenn. I do think he gets it done. So, take that for what it's worth. I think he probably gets it done by knockout late in the fight when Giagos has slowed down quite a bit and he's still pouring it on. So Ricky Glenn, late fight knockout. Not sure what round, maybe end of the second or into the third sometime. But let me know what you guys think. Let's go to the next fight. We have Matthew Semelsberger taking on Jeremiah Wells. Wells is 5-0 in his last 5, 3-2 on the Semelsberger side. Semelsberger has faced a much higher level of competition thus far in the UFC, but the last 5 on in for Wells is pretty impressive at 5-0. In this matchup here, we have a long wingspan for Wells, but just a little bit shorter than the much taller fighter. 5'9" with a 74-inch reach for Wells. He's 6'1" with a 75-inch reach. That is Semelsberger. In this one here, this is a close fight. This is a really close fight. Let's go ahead and look at Wells first. Now, for Wells, good striking, but he's very, very powerful. This dude, when he hits you, he's putting your head through the cage, I guess, whatever. He's going to put your head through whatever's on the other side of it. But he also has good countering ability. When you come in and enter, typically it's because he usually is able to use that longer wingspan and counter you with a big looping hook or an overhand or something like that. But this matchup might be a little bit different. We'll see. Depends on what Semelsberger tries to do. But Wells typically does have the countering ability. He has very good wrestling, which I do like because he's able to get those takedowns. He's able to bully his way through his opponent. So even if he isn't able to get a perfect position, he is just a physical specimen and is able to bully his way through. He can advance position with his skill because he's very skilled on the ground. He's good in jiu-jitsu as well. I didn't write it up here, but we're taking up a lot of the board. Anyway, he's good in jiu-jitsu as well, so he can advance position on the ground with skill, but also with his physicality because he's a very physical human being, and he has a very nice rear naked choke. He has, I believe, only 3 wins by rear naked choke, but every time he's gone to apply it, it's quick, he's on the back, and he's just trying to rip heads off, and it looks very nice. So, on the other side for Semelsberger, he's going to come forward with his, forward pressure, use that striking, unorthodox movement, which kind of makes his striking sometimes not look as good as it is, but he does have power, and he does put forth a lot of volume, and I think that's kind of what overwhelms a lot of opponents when he's coming at him with something wild, some kind of different movement. He's got decent wrestling in his own right, decent takedowns. I believe he used to be a safety in football, so he got that football tackle style takedown sometimes, whatever. But he's got decent takedown defense of his own. He was able to stuff some takedowns against Jake Matthews and, was able to get the win in that matchup. But he's also very durable, exceptionally athletic with great cardio. And I think the intangibles are what's going to make me lean towards the Semelsberger side. He's longer and taller. I think he's going to put forth enough volume that's going to kind of upset Wells a little bit when he can't close that distance as easily as he wants. And I think when Wells starts to shoot for a takedown, I think Semelsberger is going to be, he'll probably get taken down at some point, but I think he's going to be able to stuff enough of them and land some shots of his own that I think he's going to be able to pull out a win. I do think that if Wells wins, it's going to be a knockout, and I do think if Semelsberger wins, we're probably going to see a decision, but I think he's going to be able to start putting it on Wells late. He's going to be able to start accumulating the volume, accumulating the damage, and I think he's going to be able to ride it out, get that win, probably via decision. But Semelsberger's the underdog. He's a popular underdog this week. Everybody seems to be on him, but that line hasn't moved a ton yet. I don't think he's a favorite yet, but I like Semelsberger. Let me know what you guys have, and I will. I believe is at 125 pounds. It's listed at a couple of different weight classes. It's also listed at strawweight some places, but the UFC website has the flyweight matchup here. So that's what we're going to go with. We have Brogan Walker taking on Iasmin Lucindo. For Lucindo, she is 4-1 in her last 5. Her loss coming to Yasmin Jauregui. 2-3 for Walker, which is not a good look. Coming up that loss to Juliana Miller, which I actually thought Walker was going to win that fight, and I was way off. So that was a horrible pick. But so that's where we're at. More than a 10-year age gap. But again, kind of like the fight I mentioned earlier, 33 is not too old, so she's probably fine. But 21 is young. She's still learning a lot of things. And to have a 13-5 record at 21, that's kind of impressive, actually. But let's start with Walker here. Coming off the Ultimate Fighter finale loss to Miller, she still does have decent grappling, decent striking, but her takedown defense isn't very good at all. Miller was able to take her down willy-nilly. On the other side, we have Lucindo, who's actually a pretty good prospect here. She has good striking with counters. I've heard a lot of people say that her grappling isn't very good, but I don't know what they're looking at because she has solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She has a good body lock takedown, really good pressure from the top, and she's using her ground and pound to advance position. So what she's going to be doing is getting that pressure going, hit you with some shots, hop to the next position, or slide through, whatever you want to say. But she's going to be able to control things on the mat if she can get this fight to the mat, and I think she's going to probably get a finish on the mat. I don't know. I wouldn't bet the finish. I feel like that's a little bit greedy, but I do think Lucindo is going to get this one done fairly easily. She's probably the better fighter. Brogan Walker's not terrible, but she's not super top level. I'm trying to be nice here, try not to say anything mean because I realize she's a decent fighter. But Lucindo's a real hot prospect. Coming off, like I said, a loss to Yasmin Jauregui, who I believe is still undefeated. So, so there you go. Lucindo's the pick. Let me know what you guys have, and I'll see you in the lightweight. We have Bobby Green taking on Jared Gordon. 2-3 in the last 5 for Green, 3-2 for Gordon. Bit of a height and reach advantage on the Green side. He is 5'10 with a 71-inch reach as opposed to 5'9 with a 68-inch reach for Gordon. This one's an interesting one because Bobby Green, he's got the slick boxing. We all know him for that good head movement, the shoulder roll that he's got, and he throws like a good volume of punches and from weird angles. Typically from down here, he'll lean his head out like this and pop up with a punch from down by his hips or whatever. But the problem is that means he keeps his hands low, and it didn't pay off too well for him in his last fight. Like I told you guys, Drew Dober's the stud, and he's going to walk through whoever they put in front of him, except for Makhachev. But either way, so Bobby Green, dude's phenomenal with the boxing. He looks great, and I think he's able to do that because of his good wrestling. In fact, he used to win a lot of his fights with his wrestling, shooting the takedowns, getting him to the mat, using it that way. But now he uses it more for defense, and he has an excellent sprawl because of his wrestling background. So Bobby Green has all the tools to beat most guys in the UFC, just not that upper echelon or guys that are just total studs like Drew Dober that just walk through punches like it doesn't matter. So Jared Gordon, though, on the other side, he's going to come forward with forward pressure, similar to a Drew Dober, but I don't think he can eat the same amount of shots as Drew Dober did. But he's got good striking, and that lead hook that he kept landing on Paddy Pimblett, we all saw that there. That's a money shot for him in a lot of fights. He can land that lead hook pretty well. He also has a good cage push, getting the guys up against the cage and kind of just working them over from there. The volume wasn't there for him in the Pimblett fight when he did this, but in the past he's been able to do it better. And a lot of people think this grappling's not good, but I don't know. I think that's just because he's not super flashy with it, which is weird because he's Flash Gordon. But either way, he's not super flashy with his grappling, but he does have good grappling. He just happens to be position over submission. So I know I rambled through a lot of this really fast, but here's the thing, guys. I'm picking Bobby Green, but for whatever reason, I just don't feel very confident in it right now. And I don't know what it is. I should be very confident in it. All the tape study, everything that I've seen says Bobby Green should win this fight. But for whatever reason, I'm not as confident in it as I should be. So take that for whatever you want. Take it for whatever it's worth. I'm going to pick Bobby Green, but yeah, something's got me off. Maybe it's his talk about retirement. I don't know. That's usually a bad sign, but he's done that before. I don't know. Either way, Bobby Green's a pick. Don't feel great about it in this one. You know, Jared Gordon's got a chip on his shoulder, coming out there with something to prove. Maybe, Green coming off of a knockout not that long ago, maybe. I don't know. Either way, Green's a pick. Like I said, I'll see you in the next slacking on reminding you guys to like this video. So thank you so much to those of you who've already liked this video without being asked to do so. But to those of you who may have forgotten, no big deal. There's still time left. Go ahead and hit like for me. I appreciate it very much. And if you've been enjoying this video so far and you'd like to find more of my content in the future, a subscribe would make that easier for you, as well as it would help me reach my goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers here before the end of the month, which would be ideal. But go ahead and do both of those things for me, and I'd appreciate it very much. Let's go ahead and break down this fight between Bruno Silva and Brad Tavares here in the middleweight division. For Silva, he's 3-2 in his last 5 on that 2-fight skid. Not looking the best in that last fight, but it happens when you're fighting GM3. GM3 can sometimes just show up and make it for somebody look way worse than they are, and then sometimes he shows up and he just doesn't really show up. You know what I mean? But 2-3 for Tavares in his last 5. But he's been fighting very tough level of competition pretty much for his whole career in the UFC. But either way, so for Tavares, good striking. The volume is pretty darn nice. He has good polished technique. I think he's probably the prettier striker out of the two. He's probably got the better technique out of the two. He does have good grappling that he typically uses more for defense these days, but he can land a takedown if he needs to. He has good takedown defense, that is for sure. And he's durable as all get out. It's going to be hard to put this guy away. However, if anybody can do it, it's Bruno Silva. The dude's a very strong striker. He has power in his hands, but not only in his hands, he has some of the most deadly knees that you're going to find. I watched a lot of his regional fights coming into this one, kind of just to get a vibe for what he was like before the Alex Pereira fight. The knees. He will mix them in combinations, do flying knees, whatever he's got to do. But he has good striking combinations, and the knees are the most deadly part of it. When the fight gets to the mat, he does have good grappling. His ground and pound is probably the best part of that because it's absolutely brutal. But like I said, that last fight gives me a little bit of pause about picking Bruno Silva, because if this was right after the Pereira fight, I would have picked Bruno Silva right away. The GM3 fight, and I'm like, man, that's 2 fights in a row, whatever. But I'm still going to take Bruno Silva here. I'm not going to bet him, and I'm probably going to regret it when he wins. And then I'm going to say, gosh darn it, I should have bet him at an underdog price, because it's probably the best price we're ever going to get Bruno Silva at again, unless he fights somebody that he's likely to lose to. But yeah, Bruno Silva, man, I'm picking him, but that last fight scares me a little bit. Not enough confidence to bet him. I'm a little gun shy after that one. Yeah, Bruno Silva's the pick, though. Let me know what you guys have, and I'll see you in the main event. And I'm so happy to see that all of you have liked this video and subscribed to this channel, and thank you so much for doing so. I appreciate all of you very, very much. Now, this matchup here in the heavyweight division, we have Curtis Blaydes taking on Sergei Pavlovich. 5-0 in the last 5 for Pavlovich, 4-1 for Blaydes. Both guys with 17 wins in their career. Very close records for these two guys. Whew. If anybody tells you that they know for sure, they're dead set on one of them, guys, like, what are you seeing? This is a close matchup that won't look close. It's weird because no matter if you pick the wrong one, you're gonna look like a total idiot because the other guy's gonna dominate. But if you pick the right one, yeah, like they're gonna dominate. So it's just somebody's dominating somebody because their game plans are just so opposite. At least you assume that they are. For Curtis Blaydes, dude has very strong wrestling with solid takedowns and excellent entries on those takedowns. He also has powerful striking on the feet, which would be a horrible idea for him to try to do because he's going up against a guy like Pavlovich, who, good striking, but devastating power and excellent volume for a heavyweight, because heavyweights typically don't have the volume that Pavlovich is able just to come forward and start slinging. But his grappling's a big red flag because the only time we've really seen him grapple, he didn't do too well and he got out-grappled by a kickboxer. So maybe he's gotten better? I don't know. But if he gets Curtis Blaydes on top of him, Curtis Blaydes is clearly going to be the better grappler, I would assume, because he's probably a better grappler than just about anybody in the division. But if Curtis Blaydes tried to strike with Pavlovich, he's going to sleep. He's already been knocked out a few times. So, I don't know. This matchup is ridiculous. I've switched my pick a couple of times, and I'm going to go with Curtis Blaydes because traditionally I just side with the wrestler over the striker when worst comes to worst. But I've seen Curtis Blaydes go to try to take down a striker and just eat a shot and go to sleep, which scares the crap out of me for picking Curtis Blaydes. So this pick might change, and if it does, I will be sure to let you know. You'll see it on my Tapology. You'll see it on my Twitter. I'll tweet it out if I change it, or maybe we'll even put out another video or something. I don't know. But for right now, I'm leaning Curtis Blaydes, but please, just don't bet on this fight. Crack open the last of your root beers. Enjoy this fight for a couple minutes that it lasts. This is supposed to be a 5-round fight. Somebody's probably going to win by knockout or TKO. So you can probably bet that. Either guy to win by knockout. Is that a thing? If it is, you can probably bet that and feel pretty good about it. I don't think it goes to decision. I don't think he's submitting anybody. I guess we could get a DQ, but not super likely. We're definitely not getting a draw. Let's put it that way. So either way, let me know what you guys have. If you feel passionately about one of these guys, I would love to hear your pick on this and why you feel that way. But let me know. Thank you guys so much. Drop the comments with all your picks. I'd love to see them. We can go back and forth on who's got what. But see you guys in the next video. I appreciate y'all checking it out.